The Premier League title race is getting exciting now. We've got Liverpool at the top on 36 points, Chelsea on 34, Arsenal on 30. I'm going to go to Jacob first on this title race chat. You drew 0-0 at home with Everton last on match of the day. No set pieces, no goals. Less goals from open play than Brighton, Wolves, Fulham, Brentford and Spurs. And currently, I think they're around 8 points behind where they were at this point last season. What's happening, mate? What's going on?
We're impotent, Brian. We need Viagra. The boys have lost their fucking... Mate, look, that forward line... and there have been a lot of questions about Arteta. There's been a lot of questions about Arteta over the last 2 weeks, right? And I'm not here to defend the manager because I think ultimately we're going to look at this season come May and I think we're going to look at a team that got worse. And if your team gets worse, you have to ask questions of the manager. So his job isn't safe. I will say that. I watched us the last 2 weeks. I watched us against Fulham. I watched us against West Ham the week before that. The tactics are still working. The things that we do on the ball still work. The problem is personnel. The problem is our forward line. You look at our forward line.
Kai Havertz is really, really laying you down on that forward line.
For you, brother.
Fuck me.
Kai Havertz.
What a signing he was.
21 goals and assists in 26 starts in 2024. Kai is not the only problem. You look at that forward line.
He's a good striker though, isn't he?
Let's talk about get the stats for this season though. Can we get the stats? Let's not calendar year. Let's talk about because that was last season's past. Let's talk about this season's stats.
So we'll talk about this season. He nearly broke a record this season of scoring consecutive goals at the Emirates. If he'd have taken a penalty against Shakhtar Donetsk that for some reason fucking Trossard took, he would hold a record for scoring goals at the Emirates Stadium that would have been higher than all of our favourites, higher than Van Persie, higher than Fabregas. So I don't think
I've got some stats, lads. So in the Premier League, 15 starts, 5 goals. He's got 2 assists. So not as probably prolific as what you're going to need for a Premier League winning side.
I agree with you, Brian. But I'm not going to fucking dig out the midfielder playing at number 9 who's got 5 in 15.
That's the
when
problem.
Gabriel Jesus looks like he should be serving beers at the fucking stadium rather than playing as a forward. Gabriel Jesus has gone off. I cannot believe it. Raheem Sterling can't get on the pitch. There are teenagers leaving their school bags in the dressing room to get on the pitch whilst Raheem Sterling sits there cleaning boots, mate. Like, Martinelli, what the fuck has happened? Like, terrible. What has happened? He's gone from a 15-goal-a-season winger to someone who couldn't run a 40-year-old Ashley Young. Like, I'm not digging out Kai Havertz when those players are falling off.
If you want the stats, mate, 10 starts, 4 sub-appearances, so 14 in total, 3 goals, 2 assists. So it's very similar.
It's just poor. And the thing is, I'm looking at this season, and I don't want to take anything away from Liverpool. They are the best team in the Premier League. I think they might be the best team in Europe right now, Liverpool. They're not going to get more than 86, 87 points. This league is anyone's to grab. And I honestly believe if Arsenal had a forward just as good as Saka, and by the way, I'm saying that as if Saka's not one of the best forwards in the world. He is one of the best forwards in the world. He's easily one of the top 3 right wingers in the world. If we just had one more at that level, we'd win this league.
Can I say something?
Go on.
I think
just to refresh your memory, Craig, before you jump in, out of the 3 main forwards, Martinelli, Havertz and Saka, in the 15 games this season, not one of them has more than 5 goals. So that answers what you need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Listen, yes, they need more prolific attacking players. That's evident, right? But one thing that's glaring to me is the football has changed so much over the last 3 years. Like that 2 seasons ago when you was going that first season up against Man City for the title, the football was scintillating at Arsenal under Arteta. Last season, the football was still good. This season, it feels like what the problem is, and this is where Arteta's really going to kick himself at the end of the season. I think when you go up against Pep Guardiola's Man City, right, these last 2 seasons, and you fall short by just a couple points each season, you start to then question your own principles and beliefs, and you start going, all right, do I need to tweak things and change things here in order to compete with them? Because I tried that way and it didn't really work. And I think he's picked the wrong season to kind of shift and change the team a bit, because this is the season, unfortunately, for him where Man City have actually dropped off a cliff. And now he's changed it, he's tweaked it. And I know people running the jokes about set piece FC and whatnot, but Arsenal were always known to me as a team that played with flair, finesse, passing, bopping the ball around. And in those seasons, 2 seasons ago, under Arteta, you were playing like that. Today, you don't play like that. You got these big, industrious players that like to just smother teams. They're huge. They're not as glossy with it.
But yeah.
It feels like he's changed the football, and it's
that's it though, Craig. It's the players. And this isn't me letting the manager off, because ultimately, who puts those players on the pitch? Who goes out and transfer window and buys those players? It's Arteta. I don't think the shapes that we see on the pitch, I don't think the way we progress the ball has changed massively. I think what's happened is, where we used to have a Xhaka in midfield, who for all Xhaka's faults, by the way, fucking quality passer of the ball. One thing you can say about Granit Xhaka, he can pass the ball. I think he got something like 12 assists in his last season before he left us 2 years ago, right? We've replaced that with Declan Rice. We've replaced it with Mikel Merino. And Mikel Merino, I'm sorry, like, the guy's got fucking cement in his boots. Like, Jesus, he's wearing Doc Martens.
I feel really bad, because when he was at Newcastle, he was pretty good.
Right.
If you watch old highlights, you'd be like, where is that player? Because he dictated the game at Newcastle. That's why he was signed. And
even in the back line, like, we had Zinchenko playing left back, inverting from left back. And look, for whatever you want to say about Zinchenko, that is a guy who, if you want to play nice football, he can help you do that. We've replaced him with centre backs. Calafiori, Timber plays there quite a lot now, right? I think ultimately what happened was, I think personally, Arteta got a bit spooked. You remember that season where the first time we challenged, we lost to Southampton. We dropped points against West Ham, and it's build up play where we fucked around at the back and we got picked off. And I think he got spooked. And I think at that point he went, right, I need to get these little ballers out of the team. I need to move Gabriel Jesus out of the way, get a big Kai Havertz up there, get Zinchenko out of the way, put a defender back there. And I think you're kind of right. I think, to be honest with you, this is the season. And by the way, I think we'll finish this season with the best defence in the league. Yeah. I think we'll finish this season with the best record against the top 6 in the league. But we can't beat up
the signings for me.
We can't beat up an Everton team.
Do you not think the signings? Because apparently the squad value of Chelsea versus Brentford and Arsenal versus Everton, there's only 60 million difference after all the things people say about Chelsea spending money. Arsenal are now, have spent a fair bit of money under Arteta. And you look at the players he's been signing. Raheem Sterling didn't work. Moreno didn't work. Calafiori, it's not going to change your fortune, massively. And even like the way you're like playing football going forward with Kai Havertz, you're thinking this money could have been spent, in my opinion, a lot more wisely. Yeah. And I think this is where they're getting worse.
Do you know my biggest fit? And I agree with you, Brian. I think we got the transfer window wrong. I think Sterling's offered us nothing, and I'd send him back in Jan. Yeah. I'd honestly send him back. I don't like if he's not going to offer us anything, mate.
We don't want him. Well, he's a hot potato, isn't
he? Mikel Merino, I think it's a step back. Calafiori, I think, is a really good player, but he needs to prove that he can stay fit in the Premier League. The bigger concern for me, it's not what we did in the transfer window, it's what we tried to do. Because we didn't miss out on huge players and then settle for Sterling's. We were going for Benjamin Sesko from Leipzig, who maybe would have been better. But this isn't someone who, if we'd have got him, could have changed everything. We went big for Nico Williams from Bilbao. He's got the same stats as Martinelli this season. That's not someone who you could say, if we definitely got that guy, we'd have been the team that won the league this season. We're not. My fear with Arsenal, the season before last, when we went out and bought Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, Jurrien Timber, we went and bought players with medals around their necks. We went and bought Declan Rice, £105 million midfielder. For whatever you say about Kai Havertz, that's a guy who came in with a Champions League medal around his neck. And I thought, right, we're buying win now players. We are buying players who are going to help us win a league now. This summer, it felt like we went back to being really comfortable buying Europa League level players, top 6 level players who've done bits and bobs in Europe, but don't come in with medals around the neck. And if we're a serious club, and I honestly believe, we're talking about a title race in this video, right? I honestly think between Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, if anyone goes out in January and slaps £100 million on a player they really need, I think they could walk it. I think they could walk a league. If Chelsea buy a defender, if we buy a forward, I think maybe it's a midfielder for Liverpool. If one of those teams goes out and spends big, they'll walk this league. And it's who has the bollocks to do it.
It's ironic. We've been talking for a long time, Jake, about Isak at Newcastle. Apparently, we're still in trouble with PSR. After that,
it's going to be Guimaraes, isn't it? It's going to be anyone from Newcastle.
I don't see a world in which Guimaraes and Isak stay at Newcastle, like for the next few years. Like, they're going to go. Someone's going to take them. So it's about who's aggressive. Because I look at how good Isak's playing right now, and you think to yourself, if Arsenal signed him, I mean, it's a fucking.
He's so obviously the next best player.
He's perfect for you guys.
Yeah. It's perfect. And I, honestly, I think if Arsenal have got the aggression that they should have, and I think aggression is the word you use, Brian, I think it's a good word. You walk into a negotiation table with Newcastle in January and you go, we're not leaving here without the player.
There's
and
100
if you
million.
have to go to 120, you have to do it because you'll win a league.
I think you would win the league with Isak there.
I think there's a high chance they would, because
Neither
watching him week in, week out, it's not just about what he does in front of goal. It's the way he brings the other guys next to him. Bearing in mind, he's setting up Jacob Murphy for fucking 2 goals yesterday.
Scored a good goal, Brian. It was a good finish.
Jacob Murphy missed 2 sitters as well, by the way. And he does the fucking ear thing, and I'm like, have you not been watching? Anyway.
Or Arteta's just Tony Pulis in disguise.
Martinelli, Saka would both be scoring more than 5 goals this season, with Isak feeding them as well as them feeding him. However, I do think we need to talk about Liverpool. Clearly, they've been unbelievable this season. However, they have dropped off a little bit all of a sudden. Robertson, in particular, seems to be a liability now. And it's one of those, when we talk about Pep Guardiola, changing players before they start slowing down, before they start making those mistakes. He's conceded on his own a couple of fucking goals I can remember off the top of my head the last couple of weeks. He gets sent off 17 minutes in, and Liverpool still could have won the game, to be fair. They drew 2-2 with Fulham. Are we potentially seeing them cracking under the pressure, maybe?
I think it's early to say cracking under the pressure. Look, every other team in the league have dropped points. By the way, Fulham are a really good team. We should do that. I think with these games, it's so easy to look at the big team dropping points and not credit the team who've taken the points off them. And Fulham, they were good against us. They've been good in other games this season. I thought they were fucking brilliant. And it's interesting. We talk about Andy Robertson. I think you look at Robinson at Fulham at left back and go, wow, that's a player. That's a player who could improve Liverpool. I mean, it's been clear for a while that Tsimikas isn't going to take that left back spot off Robertson. And so I'm surprised they haven't invested there, but
I'm going the other way.
They're going to fall off.
I'm going the other way. I think Liverpool going down to 10 men in the 17th minute against a good Fulham side, then conceding late on 2-1, right? After actually battering them. I'm looking at the stats, 60% possession with 10 men. From the 17th minute, by the way, 16 shots on goal, 4 on target. They've outpassed Fulham. Good Fulham side, right? They concede late to lose the game. When did they concede? 76th minute. And then they still found the will to go and find the equaliser and still take something away. To me, that's title. Obviously, you want to get the 3 points. Don't get me wrong. That is the most important thing when you're going for a title, especially against opposition like Fulham at home. But if you find yourself in those circumstances and you still find a way to not lose the game, to me, that shows a bit something extra, because a lot of teams would have crumbled and lost that game once the second goes in.
And some of their players who have been pretty unconvincing in a couple of previous seasons, Gakpo, for example, even though Gakpo can still, miss the odd sitter, he's coming good a little bit right now. Mo Salah's still fucking carrying them. The one I'd be worrying about is the fact that you spent 80 million on Darwin Núñez, who has got 2 goals this season. And there was a period where we were all like, hey, he's a bit rough, but he's probably going to come good in a couple of years. He's probably going to be one of those strikers who always misses a few, but will still get you a good tally at the end of the season. We're nearly halfway into the season. He's got 2 fucking goals.
They called him the second coming of Suarez. That's what they were saying.
Do you know what? I think you're right, Brian. Last season, we were all looking at him and saying there's green shoots there. Maybe he comes good. I think he's maybe the only one where his football suited Klopp a little bit more, whereas Slot's football, which is maybe a little bit more controlled, maybe a little more measured, that is not words that you associate with Darwin Núñez, is it?
I mean, apparently, I'm just looking this up now, but apparently, Xerxes got more goals than him, lads. Fucking hell.
Wow.
That's
is that in the Premier or in all comps?
In the Premier League.
Jeez.
I mean, the thing with Liverpool, and you mentioned Gakpo, Jota as well. Like, they've just got so many good forwards that you can make an £80 million mistake in Núñez and it doesn't hurt you. I talk about Arsenal, how between Martinelli, Jesus, Sterling, we've got about 2-3 goals this season. They've just got so many options up front. And I know that Jota frustrates their fans sometimes because he comes in and out and he gets injuries, but ultimately he does pop up with important goals at so many points in a season. And I think you look at the other title contenders, and we'll get to Chelsea in a moment, but Chelsea are a good team. I don't think they've got that depth in their forward line.
Do you know the thing with Liverpool that I think is going to be the clincher of the title race is how well they can manage those injuries? Because I feel like without a player like Konate, the defence already looks way weaker. If Alisson gets another injury, he's just coming back. If Jota can't stay fit, then that's the only chance I could see any of the teams pushing them. If they maintain some form of fitness, I think overall they should be fine. And if they drop it from that position, it will feel
I've
like
seen
a
a
bit
stat
like a
that Mo Salah has been involved in 11 of their last 12 goals. Like, the level that this guy is at, I don't know if he gets the credit he deserves. Like, in terms of like, I now put him in the all-time top 10 Premier League footballers ever. I seen Jamie Carragher say he was in the top 5 Liverpool players ever, and I looked at his number 1, it was Steven Gerrard. I thought, no fucking way.
Yeah.
Steven Gerrard is a hell of a footballer, great legacy, captain, etc. He can't lace the boots of Mo Salah. He's the talent Mo Salah has. We're having to put him, we're talking like, in terms of Premier League legacy, you know, maybe he might not be quite as good as Thierry Henry. He's in the conversation now. It's a joke. It's a joke, mate.
He's the best right winger ever in the Premier. That is confirmed. I can't think of any right winger on his level even close.
No one can touch him. No one can touch him. And now, a word from our sponsors. Now, I've been doing a lot of traveling lately from Saudi Arabia to LA, and I know a lot of you've got travel plans for 2025, and there is one app that you have to download, and that app is Saily. Now, Saily is a brand new eSIM service app, and what it does is it gives you a local SIM card that you can use when you're traveling, so you don't have to pay those crazy roaming fees just to send a text back home. They've got eSIM plans for over 160 countries and 8 regions, so wherever you're going, they're going to be able to make sure you're connected. Now, all you've got to do is click the link in the description below and you can download the app to iOS or Android. Then you buy your plan, just choose the best time frame for you. Then you just install the eSIM on your phone, and when you land at your destination, you can activate your plan instantly. And with Saily, your eSIM only ever has to be installed once. So after each trip, you can turn the eSIM off, and then when your next one comes along, you buy a new plan for where you're going, switch your eSIM back on, and boom, you're back in business. And what I love about Saily is that when I went to LA, the eSIM for them was actually faster than the hotel Wi-Fi. And obviously when I left the hotel, I didn't have to worry about not having any Wi-Fi and all of that nonsense because I was constantly connected. So what you're waiting for, get sorted for your next trip away by clicking the link in the description below and downloading Saily now. Just go to saily.com/kickoff and use the code KICKOFF, all block capitals, all one word, to get 15% off your first purchase. And a big thanks to Saily for keeping us connected on our travels. But for now, enjoy the video.
Like, you take Mo Salah out of that Liverpool team, I'm sorry, they're nowhere near where they are. They're just not. Like, you take Saka out of Arsenal, they're not there. Like,
I think he's the most important player in the league, lads.
Yeah.
If we're talking about, like, if we're talking about take a player out of the team and how big is the drop off, in my opinion, if you take Mo Salah out of Liverpool, that drop off is bigger than anything.
Or more than
anyone
Rodri.
else can do.
do you think they're where City are? Do you know,
can I
11 out of the last 12 goals he created.
Yeah, I know he's got 13 goals, 9 assists in the league. But the only thing I would say with the Rodri thing is, you remember his stats before he got injured? He was undefeated playing for Man City in like 59 games. They did not lose when he played. Salah, even when Salah plays for Liverpool, they've lost games this season.
It's either of those two. It's those two.
They lost at home to Nottingham Forest. Salah was playing.
So in terms of importance, they're the two most important players in the league together.
And I think the question for Liverpool coming into the run-in and the end of the season, like, he has had injuries, February and March, the last couple of years. And I think he wants to stay at Liverpool, personally. I think the noises he's making, he doesn't sound like a player who wants to leave. He just sounds like a player who wants his money.
He wants a long contract.
That's what he wants.
Agreed.
500 grand a week. And if he doesn't get his money, the question is going to be, does he start trying to push harder? Can he keep going in February and March? Because the stats you've just quoted, 13 goals, 9 assists. It's 16th of December. That's a piss.
It's absolutely, and this is the thing, right? Every other footballer we've seen who has approached the levels of that, like, player. If we look at Thierry Henry at the same age as Mo Salah is now, is he doing that? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like, was Alan Shearer doing that? No. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's
a specimen.
It's insane longevity. So he's not showing decline or deterioration. That's why I think you should, within reason, give him a fucking fat contract. Let's talk about Chelsea, lads. Because Josh is sitting there all coy, and I'm seeing a lot of fucking Chelsea fans saying, well, we're not in the title race. I'm getting annoyed at that. You Chelsea fans better admit it. You're in a fucking title race right now. And do you accept that, Josh?
Brian, we're in a title race.
Yes.
I'm very happy to say it. Do you know what the funny part of it though is? I don't feel any pressure. Like we have no right to be anywhere near there. I don't think any of the Chelsea players should feel any sort of pressure at all.
You spent a lot of money.
It's $1 billion. You know, it's just billions.
Right. They
Yeah, don't talk about net spend. Don't talk about net spend. Don't talk about Conor Gallagher having to go. All of our players all go.
They haven't got car park.
Don't
They
want
have
to
to park on single yellows.
We've got honestly, mate, we've got a team of kids that haven't cost anywhere near that amount of money. You guys always keep on going on
Is there
about
a
how much
question
we
for
spend.
Josh,
Don't
though?
worry about that.
Question for you, because a couple of years ago when this project started, you sat at the kickoff table saying, this is a great strategy. We're buying all the best young players and eventually it's going to come good.
Got
And
laughed
for a
at.
period of time, I was like, fuck me, I don't know, like, because some of these could be flops. And it looked like particularly with Enzo, for example, Jackson, there was moments. Now, are you sitting thinking, this has worked way better even than I thought it would?
Well, do you know what? I don't think it has worked better than the way I thought it would, because I felt that it was always coming, whether it was going to be in a year, 2 years, 5 years. I always knew that this was going to come, because ultimately the quality of the individual players, like the fact that we were battling it out with Liverpool to get a Moises Caicedo and a Lavia, and they come in. And I mean, look, you're talking about individual players that if a team lost them, how bad they'd be. If we lost Moises Caicedo, I am terrified about what would happen. The boy is one of the best DMs I've ever seen. And I've seen Claude Makelele, Michael Essien, I've seen some unbelievable talent at Chelsea, right? And he is just like a ridiculous player. So yeah, mate, like I do feel vindicated in a way, because the transfer strategy seemed so crazy to get rid of all of these Galacticos that were in the Abramovich era, that were on big money, but I had the reputation, they'd won Champions Leagues, to bring in young kids that had no right to even be anywhere near a Chelsea squad, a title challenging team. They've proved so many people wrong. Even with a player like Malo Gusto, he's 20 years old. He's playing week in, week out. He could arguably be displacing a player like Reece James.
They know
what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
Who's they?
They do.
The manager.
As in the director of football.
Yeah. The manager I'm fascinated by, because last season you lost 11 games, right? We're nearly at the halfway point. You've only lost 2.
And that's Liverpool and Man City.
The squad's basically the same, right?
Yeah.
So the manager has obviously done something special here. What is that?
It really is just a clear tactical identity. Do you remember at the kickoff table we were chatting about Mauricio Pochettino, and I think it was Jacob actually said, like, what's his plan? Like, what's his approach to the game? And really, it was a 4-2-3-1. It was very archaic and it was old school. And I look back on that now and I think, fucking hell, maybe I should have been backing Mauricio Pochettino as much as I would, because he doesn't have a clear tactical plan. You look at Maresca. He has a plan, a structure that he sticks to every game. Really, it's the sort of the 3 at the back, inverted full back, right? And you can explain it over and over again. But he does every game. He'll do something very slightly different. A couple of games ago, it was Moises Caicedo, sort of forming that effective right back and then coming into midfield. We've had various different things about Malo Gusto being sort of like a number 10 in some games when he was playing on the left. Like, there are so many little things that I haven't seen like a intelligence from a manager from us in a very, very long time do. And I think that Enzo Maresca just does it. And the belief and the guile that he's been able to instill in what is an incredibly young team, you have to just give him his props. Like, he's doing a fantastic.
I find it interesting though that every time they ask him after the game if they are in a title race, even yesterday, he's saying no. He said even the goal we conceded yesterday shows that we are not ready to be in a title race. Teams that are going to win a title would not concede a goal like that, and he's really playing it down, which I find super interesting. It is clever.
He's
keeping his
young lads on there. You don't want to put the pressure on young lads.
Yeah, he's definitely going for the title. Like 100%. He's going for the title.
They remind me of Arsenal 2 years ago. They remind me of Arsenal. The first season we challenged City, it's like we kept it cool. No one wanted to say we're in the title race. I mean, we were top of the league at this point, so it's a little bit different. But it's young players who, and the big thing I think with Enzo, and I think you're right, Josh. I think Enzo so far is manager of the season. Would you agree? Him or Slot?
I think so.
Slot is probably just about tipping it, but I'd say Maresca's close behind.
Maybe the Forest manager.
I think with Chelsea, what you're seeing so far is people know what City are going to do. People know what Arsenal are going to do, so they can stop it. As you say, people don't really know what Chelsea are going to do at the moment. They don't know what you're going to do with so many of those players on the pitch, and so people can't predict it. You can't stop it. And I think that will be the challenge in the second half of the season. People have now got a bit of data, right? Most teams will have played Chelsea already. Now it's time for a return leg. And it's going to be interesting to see if he can keep making those little tweaks that surprise people. Now, I've got to be honest with you. I've been so impressed with Maresca. Like, the fact that he's got Enzo back in that team performing, like the fact that he's got Nico Jackson I've got to be honest, like looking like one of the best strikers in the league so far.
Jadon Sancho, he has changed Jadon Sancho's fortunes around. He played 90 minutes yesterday, Jadon Sancho. The goal he scored against us at the Spurs Stadium was ridiculous. I mean, we left him unchallenged, but it was still a great finish. Like, Sancho looks happy again. And it shows you Ten Hag was really poor.
Right, Brian, you are right. There are still flops in that team. Like, you spent a lot of money and there are still some flops. There are still players like Nkunku who's been hidden behind the back of the sofa.
He's been out for an entire year. I think it's harsh to say he's a flop. He's been out for an entire year. He's coming back.
Not a flop.
Whenever he plays, mate, he's our top goal scorer. He's our top goal scorer.
Come on, he's an expensive player that we're not seeing.
You're talking about the European. He's scored a lot of the fucking the Sunday League games as part of his top goal scorer.
Can we ask you about Mykhailo Mudryk, Josh? How's he getting on? Because he's one of your favourites.
Mate, he's been last few weeks. He's been very, very unwell. He's been tucked up in beds with a hot bit of coke.
That's a hill you're going to die on. That's one hill. You'll die on the Mudryk hill.
Yeah, do you know what? Like, I don't actually know if he is ill. He's been out for about 4 games and he hasn't played, and so it's a fucking bad cold if it is a cold.
He's been linked with a loan move to Newcastle.
And this is what I've heard. I've heard there's a lot of rumours about loan moves with him. I'm going to say this to you now, and please feel free to bookmark this. Whatever club he goes to next, he's going to tear it up, and there'll be Chelsea fans wishing that they kept him.
So he can't just say that under this great manager, Maresca.
No, he can tear it up. No.
Like, turn all these other players' fortunes around.
That's not what I said, Craig. That's not what I said. Mykhailo Mudryk, whenever he plays for us, he plays exceptionally well. And in fact, actually, with his Conference League performances, he was banging on the door before he got this illness. He was banging on the door to actually start games in the Premier League, and arguably should have been, to be fair.
Let's talk probability, lads, before we wrap this up. Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal. Probability-wise, I assume we'd all put Liverpool as favourites right now.
Yeah.
But in terms of experience, obviously Arsenal have a lot more of a recent experience in title challenges. Does that impact the way you view them in terms of maybe putting them above Chelsea as they've been doing it more? Or does that not matter? Are you just like, nah, Chelsea's second favourites, yeah?
I think with Arsenal, what I'm certain of is our defence is going to stay consistent over the rest of the season. And so I think for us, as I say, if we can find a way of scoring more goals, whether that's by buying someone, whether that's a tactical shift, maybe it's Gabriel Jesus finds his fucking football boots. I think we can. I can still see us going on a run like we did from February till April last year. So I would probably, if I was to bet on it, put money on us finishing above Chelsea. But it's very close. It's really close. It's a toss up for me.
Go on, Josh.
No. All I was going to say is my perspective on it is the way that Arsenal are playing football, the lack of open play goals, the lack of actual goals in the team. The defence can be good, but if they're not scoring goals, they're not going to win games. I would put Chelsea above Arsenal now. The way, also the fixtures that we've got now, we've got 8 or 9 games that are all winnable. I think after Christmas, we'll go in and we'll be neck and neck with Liverpool. I really do. So
wow.
I would put Liverpool.
I've seen these fixtures. Well, you're right though. The fixtures are very
the arrogance is coming back.
I would put Liverpool favourites, but I'm saying it now. I think we'll be level with them.
I think Liverpool favourites. I think the probability is they win the league. It's not just like, I get what you're saying about the recency of Arsenal being in title challenges, but you remember in that Liverpool team are Champions League winners. A lot of them Premier League winners. You got Trent Robertson, even though he's been playing poor. Alisson still isn't even back, the best goalkeeper in the world. That makes a difference. Because you take Raya out of Arsenal, he's made some big saves this season that have saved Arsenal's bacon. Do you know what I mean? So
Alisson's played the last couple, by the way.
He has.
So you know,
My bad. So he's back. So that's an important player they've got back. You still got Salah, Van Dijk. These are winners. Like they know how to win the Premier League. So I'd put my money on them to win it.
I just look at Salah this year. And the idea of Salah finishing this season without a Premier League title winner's medal around his neck feels insane. Like there is just no way in a league which I'm going to be really honest with you. I think this league looks a little bit devoid of attacking quality this year. I don't think there's as many good attacking players as there have been over the last 5 to 10 years in the Premier League. But Salah is just head and shoulders above everyone. I'd love to say Saka can compete with him. Not yet. Cole Palmer, fucking unbelievable season, but Cole Palmer's going to have his day and Saka is going to have his day. Today is Mo Salah's day, and I just don't see any way that anyone else lifts that trophy apart from Salah.
But you know what? I was talking to my friend, and he's a Chelsea fan, and he was basically saying, and I saw what he was saying, like how, I don't even know if this is a word, serendipitous,
Yeah.
it would be for Cole Palmer, the way he's playing and the attitude he has and just everything around him right now to just somehow him and Maresca lift his title at the end of the season. I actually, it pains me, but I can actually see Cole Palmer lifting that trophy though. I don't know why, but I can see it.
Yeah.
It's inevitable, isn't it? It does feel though, like when you look at the way Arsenal are right now, I feel like they've got to regroup in the summer, but more so like Liverpool's players are on the older side and they're right in that like final phase of that squad. He's going to have to refresh. Chelsea winning the league in the next few years, whether it's this season or in the next couple, it does feel inevitable now because the pieces, it would take a hell of a fuck up to not at least clinch one title with that squad, in my opinion.
This is bad for Arsenal, by the way. Can we make this clear? I'm not trying to rub it in, Jacob, but it's like for them to be, you know, competing with City like that, and then out of the blue, Liverpool have a resurrection like this, and Chelsea then just jump ahead in their process so quickly. It would, like I said, the moment City slipped up, Arsenal were primed and ready to just take that. That's what was supposed to happen. And now you've got Chelsea in the mix. That, like you said, they're so young and they're already so good. They look like they're going to be a mainstay now for the next few years. Arne Slot's going to have his whole thing coming together. It's like, how have Arsenal allowed this to kind of happen?
Jacob, I want to finish on one point, partly touch on what Craig's saying is the Mikel Arteta pressure. I know that internet, chat is like, a percentage of what the real fans of the whole club think. Where do you think they are as a group now, the whole Arsenal fan base? How much doubt is there in if Arteta is the man to keep going?
I would still say the overwhelming majority of Arsenal fans support Arteta, but that doesn't mean we don't want him to improve. I would maybe put it from my experience, being in the pubs, being in the ground, being around Arsenal fans, I would say maybe 25, maybe 30% are genuinely questioning whether this is the guy who can take us to the next step, winning titles. I would say the rest of us, the other 2/3, 3/4, it's not that we're happy. It's not that we're saying this is enough. It's not. Your job has to be under pressure if you preside over a team getting worse. And right now, that's what's happened. And so there are questions. Of course, there's questions. But this is the thing. Arteta's taken us from 8th to where we are right now. And if you expected that climb to just go like that, just a steady ascension to the top, I'm sorry, you don't watch football. There's always going to be a dip. And right now we are watching that dip. And this is the biggest question of a young manager who's learned on the job. The biggest question, he's lost his sporting director that he's worked with for the last 5 years. The biggest question now is how he manages that. And I don't think it will just define this season. It could define Arteta's career.
Agreed.
Because if he does, do what needs to be done. Find that attacking groove, whether that's buying a new player, whether that's turning Martinelli back into a 15-goal season attacker. If he can do that and win this league, he will be remembered as one of the great managers of this era. If he doesn't, and we do drop away, and his future will be questioned, then who knows where he is. Like, I honestly, I think you're watching a manager who, let's be honest, everyone has raved about Arteta the last few seasons, correctly so. But there are big questions now, and how you manage those questions is what defines you as a manager. We watch Klopp come so close, but get over the line. We know Guardiola can do it. We're watching Maresca now have a real good go. If Arteta can turn this around, he'll be remembered as a great manager. If he can't, and he presides over us getting slowly worse, the interesting thing with Arsenal is I don't know if we're going to go and do that £120 million move for an Isak. I don't know if we've got more big spends, more Declan Rice style signings in us. I don't know if we're going to do it. And if we don't do it, we won't take the next step. And then what does Arteta get remembered as?
You're in year 5, he's in his 5th season. They're like, other than Pep Guardiola, he's probably the longest serving manager in the league right now. Like in season 5, these things need to start happening around now.
I agree. I
saw with Pochettino, same thing. After a while, it becomes stale. People start going, are we actually going to win things now? Like, is this philosophy actually going to work?
Yeah, it's hard for the players to keep running through brick walls after they've heard the same speeches by the same managers, and it's not led to like gold in their hands. You know what I mean? Like, how much more can we keep believing? But look, we'll wrap it up there, lads. That was a fucking great chat. Don't forget, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, like the video. Catch us on the next one.